Good afternoon, I'm Debra Weller, and I teach at Bathgate Elementary School in Mission Viejo. This is my classroom. It's a kindergarten classroom because that's what I do best. And here we are today. Now I'm going to share with you some of my ideas on classroom management, things that work with kindergartners. First of all, you have to realize that even though they're cute, you need to be firm and you need to be kind to the children that you see every day. Kindergartners need parameters. They need their boundaries clearly stated to them so that from day one you have already taught them what's to be expected in the classroom. And what are those things that we expect of them? First of all, when they're sitting on the carpet, if they have a designated square that they might be sitting in, their legs need to be folded, their hands in their lap, and I always teach them, don't bug your buddy, don't bug your buddy. And so, by teaching them just that little thing, I also tell them what does that mean. That means no poking, no playing with someone else's hair, no touching someone else's clothing. They need to remember that their job is to keep their hands in their lap, and then their hands will not be getting into any trouble. So we learn from that first day, how do we sit like grown-up kindergartners? And they all comply. Now I also use some sign language techniques that help them, and they will know these from the very first day. And again, if you practice in a playful way with them, they will learn exactly what to do. So for standing, I show them sign language for stand, and then we practice standing.
Jonathan and Alexander Liera come to the office.
And then what I do is I show them sitting. So you take your hands, put them like as if you're sitting on your other two hands, and they learn how to sit. So we play a game of stand and sit for a while, and I show them these particular signs so that they will learn automatically to do it. Then I don't even have to use my words anymore. Stand, sit, and they are there. Well, we always need to put on our story manners. One of the most important things as a kindergarten teacher is you do not start a lesson, you do not start a story until everyone is doing what you expect them to do. So for things like learning time, I designate to them, when we are sitting on the carpet, this is learning time, and you need to tell them that. This is a time when we sit very quietly, we put on our listening ears, we put on our learning eyes so that we are ready to go, and we turn on our brains. Then we're ready for listening and learning. And of course, in the beginning, you'll have to remind them that we're not preschoolers anymore, so we don't sit on our knees. We sit flat on our bottoms. And so as I notice them complying with some of these things, I will put pennies in my penny jar. A very simple thing. I've got pennies, and then I've got this jar. This is called the party jar. And as I notice them doing correct things, like, oh my goodness, everybody's able to sit on their bottoms with their hands in their lap right now. What good listeners. I'm going to put 5 pennies in the jar. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It reinforces counting. Now maybe I'll only want to highlight that the green team's sitting very nicely, and I'll put a penny in for each child. Well, as we add more pennies to the jar, as I catch them doing the right things and being good, this jar will start to fill up. And when it hits the P in the word party on this jar, we get to have a popcorn and video party celebration. But it takes a while. I'm generous, but I keep them going. So it may take 3 to 4 weeks sometimes to fill up the jar. They go crazy when the jar is filled. It makes them so happy. So having a penny jar is a nice positive way to reinforce good behavior in your classroom. I'm not one to buy them off with stickers and stamps, but this is one thing that they respond to very well. And it's all how you sell it to them. Oh my gosh, we get to have a penny jar. And if you're doing all the right things at all the right time, we're going to put pennies in this and we get to have a celebration. So with excitement, you teach them about the penny jar. When I'm getting ready to read a story to them, here's what we need to do. Put on our story manners. I will not even begin until everyone can show me their very grown-up behavior. Okay, let's put on our listening ears. Make our mouths quiet. Our hands are in our lap. Our bodies are nice and still. We're sitting up like grown-up kindergartners, and now we're ready to invite a story into the classroom. I go over that for at least every day, every time I'm reading a story during those first 6 weeks of kindergarten. After that, all I have to say are, is your story manner on? Are all of you having your story manners on? That way, they've figured it out that this is what's required for their good behavior. Sometimes, if they're being a little rowdy and squirrely, I'll say, well, I'm hoping to put pennies in the jar. Do you think we can get 10 pennies in the jar? This is how we need to do it. That's just one of the techniques. I always use a lot of positives with the children, recognizing them for their good behavior. But they do work for that penny jar. Now, what do you do when you have kindergartners who think that they're the only ones in the classroom and that they should be the only one who has turns? Well, no matter if you have 20 or you have 30, you need a system. So here's a couple of little systems that I use in order to give turns in my classroom. There's many more, and we will be sharing other ideas from other teachers with you. So this is just what I do in my classroom, but I hope you'll be willing to share some of the ones that you have in your classroom as well. And maybe we'll see you on a CKA video on the internet. Well, what I've done to help my kids out, I have a little box and I put their name on a popsicle stick. And so when we have a time where we need taking turns, pull out the popsicle stick. And there's their name, and so they get a turn. The other thing that I have them do on the very first day of school is they draw themselves and write their name on I think this is a 4x6 card. And they just simply write their name. It's also a quick assessment because I see their name and I also see how they draw their body. And then these cards are used throughout the year for when we do calendar time or other things that require choosing in the classroom. And then I have them tucked right here, ready to go in the classroom helper chart. Very helpful when you have a substitute come in the room. And that way they will know where to get the children's names from as well. So the choosing chart goes for calendar jobs, any jobs in the classroom. And then the choosing box is for other times when you want to have discussion, but you can't afford for all 30 children to be speaking at once. They become very respectful of these particular little tools in the classroom. Now, another way that I help to organize them is in that first week, they get introduced to their cubbies. So I'm going to walk on over here to where I have their cubbies. I have placed the cubbies right near the door of the classroom. I've tried all different kinds, and you know there's 100 different ways to organize this, but these are nice and compact little plastic drawers. Their names are on there, color-coded, again, for my early bird and late bird students, so that they can easily find it. I also have had them alphabetized so that they will learn about alphabetizing their names. And so when they possibly have a lot of things in their drawer, they can just take it out when it's time at the end of the day to put things into their backpacks. They can take their whole drawer out, and then their job is to put it back here. But throughout the day, when they need to put a paper that they have finished, right here. When do I start training them on this? The first full week of kindergarten. They learn how to put things in their cubby and how to pack them up at the end of the day by taking their cubby drawers out. There's always a place. They like having their own places to stash things. This avoids papers being around the room. This avoids children mismanaging their papers at the desk. And everybody has a place. It's a great tool because when a child is sick, the parent can just come in, pull out the drawer, and they have the papers that the child missed. So I've just shared with you a few ideas. There's lots more coming on your CKA website. I hope you'll look forward to more ideas from kindergarten teachers throughout the state of California.